Hi, I'm Sal Sgroi. This is Joe Sgroi. We're the owners of Sgroi Innovation, and Joe has developed a new product. It's a mechanical device which replaces the electronic actuator on a Kawasaki brute force in Prairie. It eliminates all the problems that are involved with the electronics failing and the diagnostics that are involved in finding out what the problem may be. The cost in fixing the electronics could get very expensive. It could run up to $800–900, where with the mechanical device, it's pretty much a fail-safe device, and we offer a complete lifetime warranty on it.
When you receive your Sure4, you open up the box. The first component that you'll have is the main box that replaces the electronic actuator. It comes assembled just as you see here. The hand lever is not just a standard bicycle type brake lever. It has a switch in it which will control the two-wheel drive, four-wheel drive indicator on your gauge, along with a lock to hold the lever locked in four-wheel drive, which has a spring on it and will snap back when you are not in four-wheel drive. The cable, as you can see, has two nuts on it to secure it in place on the actuator box, with the O-ring to keep any dirt or foreign objects out of the entire assembly. This is a 2006 Kawasaki Brute Force 750 where the four-wheel drive is not working properly. Not exactly sure what the problem is, but I don't need to know because I'm going to be replacing everything that has to do with the four-wheel drive system with the mechanical Sure4. Before beginning installation of the Sure4, be sure to clean your bike so that you don't get any dirt or foreign objects into the internal components that we're going to be opening up. The first step to installing the Sure4 is removing the 3 factory screws under your factory switch using a Phillips head screwdriver. And the next step is to remove these Phillips head screws here and remove the entire electric switch. After removal of the switch, you will need to cut the 2 wires coming from the factory switch. Now you want to fill the rubber grommet with some standard RTP silicone to keep your factory switch housing watertight. After you fill the rubber grommet with silicone, you're going to apply silicone to the lever mount. After you place the silicone on the lever mount clamp, you are going to put the lever mount onto your factory housing using the 2 screws. After you have installed the lever mount, place it off to the side for the silicone to dry. I'm going to first unplug the electronic actuator from the wiring harness. There's a few cable ties that I'm going to cut because we're not going to need to use them again, and then simply unplug it. After you remove the 3 8mm bolts, carefully remove the electronic actuator from the front differential. The next step is to install the collar on your four-wheel drive shift rod. Slide the collar over the shift rod and install the pin into the collar. Okay, next you're going to place the gasket on top of the block. In order to do this, I like to use the 3 bolts that came out of the electronic actuator to line up my gasket. Next step will be to install the cable and O-ring for the cable. Move one of these bolts, slide the O-ring over the cable, bring the cable through, bring the nut over. Now these will be adjusted later on, but get it snug right now for the rest of the installation process. After installation of the cable and the gasket, the next step is to install the O-ring over the back of the block, and then have your lid and bolts ready and install the block onto the differential. Be sure that the sleeve inside is all the way to the right, which is the two-wheel drive position, which is the stock position of the block. With the box installed, do not tighten the bolts all the way. You're going to have to open that back up to make some fine adjustments on the cable. The next step is to route the cable. Remove the back of the gauge in order to route the cable up. With the cover off, I can now route the cable carefully, making sure I'm avoiding any hot or moving parts. Now that your RTV has dried during the other steps, you can slide the grommet back in place on the housing. After you have installed the housing, you can connect the cable to the lever. The fine adjustment of the cable at the lever and at the differential should be done at the end of the installation. Strip back the wires and connect the wires from your lever to your wiring harness and solder together these wires. Now that we have the wires soldered, we're going to tuck them neatly away. Again, making sure to avoid any moving parts or anything hot. Put the cover back on, and when doing so, try not to kink your cable. You want this to be routed in a straight pattern. I have trimmed my plastic here, but you don't have to. Just whatever way is going to make sure that the cable is free flowing. Now I'm going to set the height of my lever to wherever I want it to be. Not too close to the brake lever, so it's not in your way at all. Not too far up that it's too far away and difficult to engage and disengage. Now I'm going to show you how to adjust the cable to make sure that you have full range of motion. Down here at the box, you have the nut on either side of the box. By moving the location of these, you can move the housing closer to or further away. And by pulling the lever, you can see how far the box moves. Ensure that you have full range of motion of the box. Then tighten these bolts back down and your Sure4 is fully installed. Always remember never to engage four-wheel drive when you are in motion. Come to a complete stop before engaging four-wheel drive. That's it. Have fun.